Hi, this is Katrina Cross from Woodrow Handcrafts, and in today's tutorial with the Digitizer MBX version 5, we're going to be working with one of the built-in artworks that come with the program. So we've gone ahead and we've opened the Digitizer program up, and now we're going to bring in our artwork. So we go up here and we click on our artwork, and we're going to be using the built-in. So I'm just going to scroll through these ones and we're going to choose our seahorse. So this is what we're going to create today. Okay, so we've brought it into our hoop, and you can see here if we zoom in that it's just a little bit too large for our SQ14 hoop. So we're going to need to change our hoop size. So we've got up here the MC15000 is the machine that we're going to use, and we're going to change our hoop size. So come over here to where it says SQ14, and we scroll down until we find the SQ23. So now that's centered in that hoop. So we're going to zoom in. So the first step that we're going to create with our seahorse is we're going to create the background of the body here. So we're going to go through and we're going to create that, and then we're going to create the outline that goes with it. So we go over here to our toolbox and we click on Digitize, and we're going to digitize closed shape. So we've got closed shape, we've got fill selected up the top because we want to fill it in with stitches, and we've got the tatami stitch selected out of our object properties. So the next step is to choose our colour. So down here in our colour selection, we're going to choose number 13, which is pale aqua, and that's what we're going to use. So we're going to zoom in nice and close, and we're just going to create our base. So I'm going to start here around the tail, remembering to use our right and left hand clicks. So your left hand click will give you a point, and your right hand click will give you a curve. So we're just going to curve that all the way around the outside here. Because it's our base, we're going to work around the complete outline of the project. So see how we haven't come in here and outlined around that actual colour. We've gone all the way around the outside of the clip art. And we're going to keep doing that until we get all the way back to the beginning. So using your right hand clicks around that area is very handy because it creates that curve for you. And don't forget, you can always zoom in as close as you like. I prefer to have my image on the screen nice and large. That helps with you creating more detail in your designs, and it gives your design a nicer clean finish. So we're just going to keep working around our outside. So if you see there, we've missed a little bit. If we just backspace on our keyboard, that will remove our nodes for us, and we can just go back and readjust it. And keep working. So we're working up around the tail. To scroll in and out, I've just used the little wheel on the center of your mouse. Okay, so see where we come up here and you've got his fin? We're just going to cut across the fin here and keep working up. Like so. So down around the tip of his snout. And back up. Okay. So that was a left click because we wanted to create an angle in there, not a curve. Back up. Curving around to another angle. Just about there, and back to the beginning. So once we're back to the beginning, we press enter on our keyboard, and that creates our base for our seahorse. The next step is we're going to create his back fin here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the base for it. We're then going to come through and create the veins in it and the satin outline, and then we're going to re-sequence it so it looks like that his fin's behind him, so it gives you a bit of dimension to your shape. So we want to keep our digitized closed shape selected. We want to keep our fills selected, but this time we want to change the colour. So we're going to go with number 13, which is a pale yellow. And we're going to zoom in nice and close. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our stitches off up here. So we've gone up to where it says show, and we've turned our stitches off. So that means we can now see all of our pattern behind. And we're just going to create the outline to start with. So we're just going to create that pale yellow base for the fin. And we're just going to follow that line around. So what we've done is we're just overlapping the two base stitches. So that helps if there's any movement with the tension in your fabric, because you'll always, doesn't matter how much stabilizer you put underneath, because you're then creating stitches in your fabric, you will always get movement. So what we're doing is just making sure that there's no clear gap between the two. Because if it's one thing you can't stand is gappy designs. Okay, so we're back to our beginning and enter. So we're going to turn our stitches on for a moment and we're going to zoom out. So you can see now that we've got a lovely little fin. So now what we need to do is we need to add some veins to it. So we've turned our stitches off again, and this time we're going to select Digitize Open Line, and we're going to create just a single run. We then need to go through and change our colour. So we're going to choose a colour that we're going to use for our outline of our, we might go with this dark green. Okay. So when working with our single run line and creating our veins in our fin, we're going to start in here at the body and work our way out. So we'll come in here nice and close. We can zoom out again. We're going to create this all the way out here and go back again. We're then going to come in here a little bit further, and we're going to curve down around here. And the reason we're doing that is so we're creating a run stitch between the two veins. And when we come and do our outline, all these stitches through there will actually be covered up by a satin outline, so you won't actually see them in the final detail. So we're going to head out again to the edge and back in. And then move on to our next one. And out again. And then back in. And follow it around. Oop, got a little bit farther. Might just take it back a bit. So I just deleted that node. So that was just a backspace. And we're going to follow it out again. Down to the next one, and out. And back again. So what we're actually doing with our vein is making it, we're doubling it up, so you're giving it a little bit more thickness. Okay. So we're out and back. And just follow that line. So when we get back here, what we're going to do is we're then going to bring our single run line down to here and complete it here. So what we're doing is bringing it all the way down. We'll turn our stitches back on. So then when we start with our satin outline in a minute, we will start here, and because it's in that same colour, we will then continue around the outside. So what we've done is we've taken out a jump stitch and tie off, so you just got that nice clean continuous stitching of the color of that one colour. So that's the veins that we've created so far. So we're going to click off that. We're going to turn our stitches back off. Now we're going to start down here, we're going to create that satin outline. So we go Digitize Blocks, we change it to a satin, and we keep that same colour. So you can see over here in the left hand corner it indicates which colour that you've got selected. And the reason we're using our digitized blocks is because once we come up around here, we want that satin stitch to curve with the flow of the outline and curve up and around. So we're going to start here. So zoom in. And we're just going to follow that outline around. just noting that we're just running just over the edge of that outline base that we've just created. So what that means is that when we stitch it out, if there's any movement in the fabric, which you will always have movement because you're going from a plain fabric and you're adding stitches to it, so you're always going to get movement no matter how much stabilizer you use. So we're just helping prevent any unnecessary gaps between our pattern areas. So I'm just going to follow that all the way around, like so. So when we come to this corner here, we're just going to manipulate around so that our satin stitch will continue following that curve around. So we'll just cover over those vein stitch there at the edge and continue following our border around. Curve it a bit now as we come up to that next curve, like so. So as we go around that corner, our satin stitch will go around that corner as well. And keep working all the way around your pattern. The reason we use the block, the digitized block, as opposed to choosing the digitized open line with a satin is that the block actually follows the curve of your pattern around, whereas if you use just the satin line, you won't get that same angle effect with your stitches. So like when we come here, we want to follow that curve around. If we just use the line, you end up with very long stitches. And it just wouldn't give you a nice professional finish. When we finish creating the satin border, we're going to finish where the base here where the fin attaches the body. We're not going to go all the way around back to the beginning. Nearly there. So we're going to finish up down there. Like so. So once we're finished, enter. Turn our stitches back on. And we're going to zoom out. And you can see that you've now got a nice satin stitch around the edge of the fin. The next step with the fin is we're going to now select these three parts to it in the resequencing toolbar on the right hand side. So I'm going to hold down my control key and select those three. So you know that they're selected now because you can see that they've got a blue box around them. And what we're going to do is we're going to move them up in the sequencing so they're just above the body. So if we go up, and that will now put it from behind. So when it goes to stitch out, it'll stitch out your fin. It will then come through and do the veins, complete the satin stitch around, and then the body. So the next step now is we're going to turn our stitches off, and we're going to create that satin line around the edge of the body. So we want to create, so from down the tail and here, we're going to follow it all the way around and up, around, and we're going to stop there at his cheek. We're not going to do this part through here until after we've done that fin. And the reason that we're creating that satin outline now is once you start creating all this detail in the body of your design and then go to create your outline afterwards, because you've created different stitches on top of different stitches and layers and textures all through his body, you've got movement in your design. So if you want that satin stitch to sit nicely around the body piece, it needs to be in the sequence that it comes in after the base. So then that will prevent any further movement in your fabrics and in your stitch designs. So we're going to select Digitize Blocks again. Check that we've got our fill selected, we're on satin, and we've still got our dark green. And we're just going to follow our border line out again. So starting at the base of his tail, we're going to follow that around. Just keep following that curve. So we're curving those stitches around. So we will have a nice clean satin outline. Okay, so remembering here that we come out and around the edge. So you just want to Just keep working around, making sure that we covered that edge of the design. And we're going to follow that curve around, remembering to curve so those stitches curve around. So that will curve around. And keep working around. So you can see here we still have a long way to go. Okay, so once we get to the end here, we then press enter. And we turn our stitches back on. And we're going to zoom out. So you can now see that we've created that nice satin outline around the outside of our seahorse. Okay, so we turn our stitches back off so we can see our artwork underneath. And the next part that we're going to create, we're going to come in here and we're going to create this part through here. And we're going to create that as a satin line as well. So what it will do is actually give our seahorse some dimension. So we're going to select our digitized blocks, check that we've got our fills selected, check that we've got our satin stitch, and this time we're going to change the color. So we're going to select our peacock green, and we're going to start in here. So we're going to zoom in and we're going to work our way around again, following that curve. So what we're doing now is actually adding layers of texture to our embroidery design, so that will give us some shape. And we're just going to continue following this pattern all the way around to the top. Okay, so once you get up to here, we're just going to cut straight across that fin, because we're going to come back and stitch over the top of it later, so it's not too much of an issue. Actually, okay, so I'm not happy with that, so to delete those I'm just backspacing. I'm going to curve it around a bit more. Okay. And then we're just going to continue around until we get to the edge. So see how that bowed out there? Once you put that next one in, it will come back into line. So that's the beauty of using the right click as opposed to the left click on your mouse. And then back to the beginning. So we're going to hit enter. And then going to turn our stitches on. Okay, so there's going to be, you can see through here, there's a few little dints for where we've created some quite long stitches. The majority of the other stitches throughout the design all look pretty neat. So to adjust that, what we do is make sure we've got it selected in our resequence list. And you can see here in our information it's got auto split. So once we've got that selected, we click auto split off, and that will get rid of that. So you can see now that it's taken that dimple out there. Down here, I think I might just edit that out a bit. So while you've got it selected here in your resequence, we're going to come up here to the top icon and click reshape, and that brings up those little nodes that we were creating. And I'm just going to click on that one and I'm going to drag it out there. So you can see now as we adjust those, and adjust that stitch. So I'm pretty happy with that now. So we're going to turn our stitches off again. So we've created that part. The next part we're going to create is this piece in here, in the body area. So to do that, we're going to come over here and we're going to select Digitize Closed Shape. Check that we've got our fill on, but this time we're going to change it to an embossed fill. So we want to go embossed, and then in our pattern we're going to press patch 2, and then finally we're going to change the colour, and we're going to change it to number 52, which is aquamarine. So this time I'm going to start up here. Because we've got that fin that's going to be towards the end of the pattern and will go over the top of everything else, we can just cut that part down through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start up here, we're going to come across down here, and then we're just going to follow that outline around to create that body shape. So we're going to continue all the way down his tail to the tip and then back out again. So see how it curved around the arrow? So we don't want that, so we're going to just delete that. Go back a node, click on the left hand, click on the mouse, and that created that sharp angle for us. And then we're going to curve back up to where we started. All the way back to our beginning. And then once we get back to our beginning, we're going to press enter and we're going to turn our stitches on. So you can see now that we've got a bit of texture that we've added to our seahorse. Okay. So you can see here that we've got the satin stitch through here. There's texture. and then we've got that embossed fill. So the next step now is that we want to go through and we're going to create these little lines in here. So we're going to start up here and we're going to create a satin stitch through here. Then we're going to create a single run down here and then satin stitch back. So this time we can go digitize open line. We're going to start with our satin and we're going to choose the colour that we did in our outline colour. So that's our dark green. And we're going to begin up here. And we're just going to follow that curve across. When we get to here, we're going to go enter. We're then going to change to a straight single run line. We're going to click our first node where our last node ended. And we're going to follow that down until we get to there. We're then going to hit enter. And we're going to repeat. So we're going to go satin. Start the satin stitch down there, satin stitch back across the body, enter, single run line from where the satin stitch finished down to that next line and enter, satin stitch back across, and enter, single run line down to the next point and enter, satin stitch back across his body and enter. So we're going to follow this same process until we finish all those lines across his body. Okay, so once you get to the end, we press enter and then we turn our stitches back on. So just zoom out here. And you can see here that we've now created those satin lines. But you can see down the end here that as we've gotten down to the finer detailed area of our design, the satin line is too bulky. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through and we're going to edit those. So in our object properties, we're going to, where we had our auto split before that we used, underneath that is our width. So we're going to change that to 0.5. And we're going to go through and we're going to do that for all those little satin lines that we've just created.
Like that.
So you can see the difference there between the original setting and the new setting. Oop. Okay. There we go. So that's what we're looking for. We're just creating a bit more detail in that body area. So we're going to go through now, we're going to turn our stitches back off. Oops. And we're going to create that satin outline again. So we're going to come all the way down to here and then back up again. So to do that, we used our digitized blocks again. Check that we've got our fills selected and check that we've got our satin stitch selected. We want to keep using that color again, so we want that dark green because we're creating the outside of the body now. And we're just going to start up here and work our way down. Until we get down to the bottom. So we're going to, as we work around this area, you're going to go over the top of those little single run lines that we created before. So the aim behind that is you'll have a nice tidy design when you finish, but you've gone through and taken out a lot of those jump stitches and tie off that create a lot of bulk on the reverse side of your patterns. So it just gives it that more professional finish. Then it depends on what you're putting your design on. You won't have that much density behind the pattern if you wanted to put it on, say, a cushion or something like that. You wouldn't have those tie-offs, how they create those little bulky corners. So we're just going to follow that outline all the way down to that V section. So we're making sure that we're covering that outer line of the detailed embossed section of the body that we created, but we're also making sure that we're covering those run stitches. Okay, so when we get down here, we're going to continue following this down to the end and enter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check where our stitch finishes. So you can see here that our stitch finishes there. So that's what the little cross represents. And if you go up here, you'll see that that's where it's telling me it's starting. So we know that we're finishing down here. So when we start our next stitch, we're going to come up this way. So we're going to select, we're going to click off to make sure we've got nothing selected. We're going to go through and we're going to select our digitized blocks again. Check that we've got our fills selected. Check that we've got our satin selected. And check that we've still got the same colour. So now we're going to start down here and we're going to overlap and work our way back up. So we're going to work this way this time. And we're going to work all our way back up to where our fin starts. So once again we're following that outline of the embossed area that we created, as well as making sure that we've got those run stitches covered. And we're going to finish there. So once we've finished there, we're going to hit enter and we're going to turn our stitches back on and select and zoom out. So you can see now that we've created that satin outline. So the next step in our pattern, we'll turn the stitches off again, is to create this second fin. So we're going to zoom in. We're going to select Digitize Closed Shape, select Fill, and select a tiny stitch. Now we want to make it the same colour as the original fin. So to find that, you can see in the bottom line here that when you choose a colour, there's a little blue box that comes up next to it. So we're going to choose number 13, which is pale yellow. So we know that that's the colour we used. And we're going to create our fin. So we're just going to work around our pattern again, creating that outline border that we wish to fill in with stitches.
Hello.
And then we're going to pop up over here. And then back to the beginning. Once we get back to the beginning, we hit enter. And that's created that one. So we're repeating the same process that we had with the original fin. So we're going to come through and we're going to create those veins next. So that's that digitized open line. We're going to make sure that we've got our single run line selected. And we're going to choose the color that we used for our outline. So that's that dark green again. So it's very handy having those little blocks there that indicate what colors you're using. We're going to start up here at the top of the fin and work our way out. Once we get out, we're going to come back in again. Back to the beginning. And then we're going to move out to our second one. And then we're going to move back again. We're going to move along to the next vein. And then you're going to move out again. Following that path all the way to the end. And back along that line. So remember to stick close to that line or you won't have a nice thick stitch coming back. You'll have two separate ones and that's not what we're looking for. And out. And back in. And down to our next one. And back in again. Down to the next one. And out. And back. And out. So when we come back in off this vein, we want to continue around. Oops, so see how we've got a, we don't want that, so we're going to come back and make sure our line is nice and straight. And then we're going to follow that back in. Once we get back in here, we're going to come down here and finish. Okay, so now that we've created the vines in his fin, we're going to go through and we're going to create that satin stitch again. So a digitizing block with the fill with the satin. We're checking that we've still got our dark green selected. So yep, we're happy with that. We're going to go through and we're going to start down here. And we're going to follow that curve around. So we're going to follow that all the way around until we get to the top of his little head fin. And then press enter. So now we press enter, and if we turn our stitches on, you can now see, and we'll just zoom out, that we've created that satin outline. So there's a couple little areas around there that I feel that we need to edit. So we select in our resequencing list the stitch that you want to edit, and we're going to go up here and select reshape. So once we bring these nodes out, we can then add some stitches in to increase those gaps there, like so. And while we're here, we just might drag these out a little bit just to make sure that they're going to cover those stitches. So I'm going to add one in here as well. And we're going to add some up here. So the next step now is we're going to turn our stitches off, and you'll see that we've got this part here that we want to create. And that's another part of our satin line. And we're going to make it in that same green as we used before, but we don't want to create a tie-off jump stitch here and then have it jump down here and gives you all that unnecessary problems there where you've got to cut jump stitches. And so we're going to create a running stitch down to that point here for where we want to start. So where the stitch finished, we need to check. So we selected in our resequencing that we want to check, and we can check that the little cross is here, so we know that it's going to finish there. We then select Digitize Line, check that we've got our single run line selected, and we're going to start our stitch here and just follow that out. And once we get to that point, we can enter. So that's created that run line now for us, and now we can go back over the top of that in our satin. So digitize block, inner fill, check we've got satin, check that we've got dark green. We're going to start out here like so and work our way around to the other end. So when we reach the end, we press enter, and we can turn our stitches on. And we'll just zoom out so we can have a look. So there you go. So we've got all our outline created now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the eye. So to create our eye for our seahorse, we go over here to our toolbox and we select circle. We would like a fill, satin, and we're going to choose, let's have a look, let's choose a blue ink colour. So with our circle, to create our circle, we hold down our click on our mouse and we just drag our circle out. So when we've got it as big as we like, or as small as we like, and you can see how you've got that little line coming off of it. So that indicates your angles with your stitches. So when we've got it the way we like it, we're going to hit enter twice. So once, twice. And we're going to zoom out. So if we turn off our image at the back, so to hide our image, you just press your D on your keyboard and that'll make your image go away. And there you have our little seahorse. Thank you for attending our tutorial today. If you found this very interesting and would like to learn more, subscribe to our Woodrow Handcrafts YouTube channel. Thank you.